But all of our elephants are Asian elephants, and there are a couple ways you can tell the difference between them and their African counterpart. So first of all, Asian elephants are going to be in Asia, African elephants are going to be in Africa, and that's an easy way to tell on its own. But they do adapt to those different places that they live in. Asian elephants live in foresty areas where they are a little more used to shade access, whereas African elephants kind of live out in the savannas, they're under the sun a lot more. And so, as Shotzi in the back is demonstrating just a little bit, they adapt to those environments by flapping their ears to cool themselves down. So kind of like how we're going to be sweating throughout today, or how a dog pants when it's really hot out, they flap their ears to cool themselves off. And it's not necessarily about that fanning motion that's blowing wind in their face, although I'm sure that helps just a little bit, but it actually relies in the blood vessels underneath that skin. So that skin on the Asian elephant ear is pretty thin, and so as they flap it like Shotzi's doing back there, it cools down the blood in the ear. That's going to travel throughout the entire elephant to cool down the whole elephant. So those African elephants that need bigger cooling systems have bigger ears, whereas Asian elephants, like the ones right in front of us, have smaller ears. But another great way you can tell the difference is by looking for any tusks. So as you see in front of us, our Asian elephants that are all females do not have tusks, but all African elephants are going to. In Asian elephants, only the males have tusks because they are solitary and territorial. So they need something to defend themselves. They don't have the numbers games that the females that live in herds do. So they use that to forage, they use it to defend themselves, and just like how we have a dominant left hand or a right hand, Asian elephants have a dominant left tusk or a right tusk, and that dominant one is going to be a little bit shorter. And then the final main difference between them is just going to be in size. So Asian elephants, our biggest one is Shotzi, who's in the back to the right. And I know that she probably hates me announcing her weight to everybody, but she is about 9,600 pounds, which sounds like a lot to us, but they can actually grow up to about 11,000 pounds at their full-grown size. And then African elephants, their counterpart can get up to about 14,000 pounds. And all of that is going to be sustained from a strictly plant-based diet. So elephants are kind of herd animals for the females and their calves. The herd is only going to be made of the females and their calves. And they will have a matriarch, or the woman in charge, who decides when they keep walking, when they stop for a little bit, when they want to see some food. And our matriarch is Shotzi, who is in the back and to the right. So she always gets let out first. Whenever we do kind of toy enrichment puzzles with them, she gets to go first. And she does her training first as well. But an Asian elephant is going to be pregnant for about 22 months or almost 2 years before giving birth to the calf. When the calf is about 8 to 10 years old, if it's a girl, she's going to stay with the herd for her whole life. But if he's a boy, he might go off on his own, or if he's not ready to be solitary just yet, they have what's called a bachelor herd, or as I like to call it, an elephant frat house. And that's essentially just a bunch of the guys getting together and learning how to navigate environments, learning how to forage together, before they have to live all up on their own. So elephants are very social and they are very smart, and that is why it's important to us to have a very large enrichment program with them. So that way we kind of always are working towards stimulating their very smart minds. So if you take a look at those buckets and nets hanging above, you might notice that they have a bunch of hay and grain in them. And that is an extra snack for our elephants on top of their daily meals. But it's just a little bit out of reach, and the reason we do that is it encourages them to use all of the muscles in their trunk. Elephants have about 100,000 muscles in their trunk, which is more than we have in our entire bodies. And so they use those trunks for communicating, for picking things up, for finding food. So it's really important that we make sure that they are using those very regularly. And that's why we encourage them by putting a little bit of food right out of their reach. But they are very food motivated. They're very hungry girls. They eat about 150 pounds of food here.
So elephants are by far my favorite animal. I really love elephants. I always have since I was a little child. There were some very interesting facts that were given by the enrichment member for the elephants. I love the way that they broke down the differences between Asian elephants and African elephants. Well, one of my favorite facts about African elephants and Asian elephants' ears that he didn't mention was the size. He did mention that the fact that the size is relative to the amount of cooling that their bodies need, but the ears of an African elephant are wider than the diameter or circumference of their head. So their ears are so much larger. If you look at an Asian elephant, you can see their ears look pretty fitting. They look like the right size ears for an animal with a head that size. But an African elephant's ears are just humongous in comparison. Well, that's one of the ones that I like. Of course, I love the fact that elephants are so smart. They can remember so many things. They can remember when they're out in the wild, where their mothers, the matriarch of the herd, took them when they were young. And so I just love that. Now, they have a pool here at the Cincinnati Zoo, and this pool normally is only running during the spring and summer months, but for whatever reason, it hadn't been running for a while. I don't know if they were having some issues. They normally shut it down during the winter for winterization reasons. It gets freezing cold here in Cincinnati. But it was beautiful to see it up and running. I'm also looking forward to the new elephant trek area of the Cincinnati Zoo, and I have some video that I'm going to be releasing regarding the making of that elephant trek area. It's going to give these elephants a much larger environment to live in, give them more freedom of movement. It's going to have even more water for them to enjoy, where they can actually be submerged in, and I really can't wait for that to open. It's supposed to open this summer, so I'm looking forward to that. And I have some before, and then of course I'll have some after video to compare it of what it looked like during the making of it, and also what it looks like afterwards. Okay, if you love elephants as much as I do, or you just enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, like this video, consider subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment. If you know of an elephant fact that maybe wasn't mentioned here that's really cool, I'd love to hear it. So put it in the comments. Alright. Enjoy the rest of this video, and thank you for watching.